Alex Jones. Now, the biggest teen idol in the world at the moment is Justin Bieber. No contest.
No. Wherever he goes, his fans, the Beliebers, follow in their screaming droves. Now, look at these pictures from Liverpool under control.
Well, let me tell you, the 17-year-old Bieber has nothing. In 1973, these were the staggering scenes when he flew out of Britain after a series of sell-out concerts. Absolutely remarkable.
Amazing. For a generation who won't remember Cassidy Mania, tonight's guest is, of course, David Cassidy.
Thanks for stopping by. Wow. That's the longest applause we've ever had.
Oh, stop. I haven't seen that particular footage, but I remember it well.
Yeah.
I had just played, I played Wembley, and I had broken the stone. Came back and played White City Stadium, and I constantly remind myself that almost everywhere that I played,
Right.
gone mode.
He sat in White. This is where our studio is. Would you believe it?
Really?
It's on your back. Here he goes.
I've got the fans here. Give us a scream, girls.
Yeah, that's
stop.
And the one-off gig that you're doing.
I am. I'm in town for a one-off gig, and I actually went on my website and said, look, it's been 40 years. And I've been on the road in the U.S. and also around the world a few years. It's an emotional thing for me. And I mean that sincerely on a TV emotion. It's the real thing.
Yeah. Sorry, David. We'll have a little chat about that a bit later on.
All right, all right.
Okay.
You can interrupt me anytime. I go on and on and on.
There we are, long enough. Now, David is actually a racehorse owner and breeder too.
I am indeed.
It'll be very interesting to find out later what he makes of what happened at Aintree on Saturday.
I will.
This year's Grand National was more controversial than ever.
That's it, they're up and running. They set up on this 4.5-mile journey, 30 fences ahead of them.
So also is Oscar time as they come to number 4. Calgary Bayer's gone, O'Neill's gone. Then hello, Dooney's Gates is down, West End Rocker has gone at Beaches, the Tugger one is down, all right, the Sarosa is also gone.
Bellon Rings with 100 yards left to go. Bellon Rings and Donald McCain. It's the McCain family back with another national. Bellon Rings, Jason McGuire, the winner.
Now, former jockey and broadcaster Bruff Scott is here. Bruff, it's not just animal activists that are kicking off after Saturday. You know, ordinary people were devastated at seeing the pictures we saw. Do you understand the horror?
I've been part of the horror. I mean, I was in a pile-up 1965.
Yeah, but you know how people felt watching.
95?
65. 60. But no, if you have horses, which I do, and have had all my life, if you're being a jockey, it is the worst thing that can happen. And much more, you know it can happen. I always have very mixed feelings, and this is not a strange dilemma for me the day after the Grand National. The morning of the Grand National, I have a dilemma. I see horses going out there, and you can't be sure. I mean, last year they were all right, the year before they were all right. 2 years this time, they didn't make it. Always that danger.
I heard
two were killed, but, you know.
Well, euthanized, yeah.
Yeah, one was euthanized and one broke his neck.
All right. I wasn't here. I was in the U.S.
But the fact is, Grand National is the most exciting, most challenging.
No question about it.
And the big question you have to say is, are we, if we have horses, do we have the right to put horses to the test? That's the issue which animal activists say, and they're concerned, and everyone's concerned, but I believe that it is right to take up the challenge.
I disagree.
You disagree?
And I'll tell you why I disagree. I've been breeding and racing thoroughbred racehorses in America, where we have very little jump racing, right? Now, your jump racing is so incredibly challenging, and you know this as well as I. Over the last breakdowns, serious breakdowns of horses, because we breed for speed. We breed horses who do not because of medication. And I disagree with almost all of it.
Remember, we have clean medication.
I know. I
mean, interesting,
but
the safety...
Yeah. You have drugs and we don't, you see.
But you have horses who have been bred in the United States and all over the world where they are stallions and mares who have had medication. Now, I am a huge fan of yours. I've watched your broadcasts for 20 years. I'm being conservative, just to make you feel a little better.
I presented the Greyhound Derby here in 1975.
Wow.
In White City.
Well, interesting.
In White City. Now, but I just want to make this point. We're talking about horses and animals who I love the event. You know I love racing with a passion, like more than anyone. We do very little jump racing in America for that very reason. Jump racing, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's wrong, but the Grand National, due to the unsoundness of our horses now, and the breeding programs that go on, which I'm a part of, has gotten so unsound.
Well, can I come back to you? Because we're talking about the Grand National.
Sure.
The horse that won, Briggs, he was brought into this world to do that. And I mean, rightly or wrongly, we bring horses into this world, and, you know, we take responsibility for them. He is a magnificent great horse. He's not an American horse. He's reared, he's been trained to take on these tests.
I get that.
And look, he passed it. Some didn't.
Yeah.
But
It will go on
it is
and on and on.
but the fact is, if you're involved in it, you're taking the risk.
It's my
And
passion.
you're putting a horse to the risk.
Guys, sorry, you've got two very different opinions. There's a very interesting debate.
Actually, they don't. You know, the opinion is, in my opinion, they need to lower some of the fences.
Okay.
Just a bit. Yeah, because
Then you go too fast, you turn it quicker.
Well, you may be right about that.
Carry on in the
We don't have a Grand
show.
National.
We're going to have to carry on. Sorry, David.
That's all right. I'm a big fan of his, and I want you to know I have such respect for you. I mean,
Thanks, Brett, for coming in.
thank you. Great to see you too.
Now, 30 years ago, we had a royal wedding, public spending cuts, and people taken to the streets in protest.
Yeah, how times have changed.
Now, as David is here, I think it's only fair that we admit our teenage crushes, isn't it? So mine was Jason Donovan. He covered my bedroom wall. That's very normal. Pamela Anderson.
I'm not going to call it a crush, but I did have a picture of this person on my wall. This is Valery Lukin, a Russian gymnast. It's more hero worship.
Oh,
and,
boy.
yeah, he's brilliant. First guy ever to do a triple back on floor.
Really?
Respect that.
Absolutely amazing.
Okay, but our very own Cary Grant only had eyes for our David here.
Memorabilia room, I love it, I have to say. What did you feel when you first got into him?
I fell in love.
He is everything that the magazines had made me think he was going to be. But the music is the soundtrack of my life. I can relate huge events in my life. There's always a David Cassidy track seems to be somewhere in the background of it. This is the concert ticket from White City Stadium. Describe the week leading up to the gig.
Every single outfit in the wardrobe was taken out and tried on at least 5 times before I could decide what was going to be the right clothes to wear, just in case, because David would be seeing me, obviously, and would know how special I was when he saw me. So it was really important that I had the pink top or the blue top, because that could make a big difference in our future. And suddenly there were thousands and thousands and thousands of girls there. The excitement was palpable. You really could feel it. It was an electricity in the air.
That day, a young girl was crushed due to the hysteria of the 34,000 frenzied fans. She later died. Now, I know in here you've got a sort of report of your day, which I love the idea that you even did this.
David sang his last song, said goodbye, and ran off. We were all pleading with David to come back, but nothing happened. Ness and I stood there. All I could say was, he can't have gone. Then I started to cry. The feeling inside me was awful. David had gone. I might never see him again.
Developed over the years have been very much about, helping girls believe this fantasy that it is about them. He's singing to you. Think back to the times of Elvis and then David Cassidy, sort of the idea that they don't have a girlfriend because he's waiting for you. They're not married because, you hasn't met you yet.
And of course, Wendy's here with a group of huge fans. Feeling slightly embarrassed now. I haven't poured a heart out in front of David.
Sweet you are. That is, I mean it, that's really touching for me. You have no idea. And it means so much to me to have fans like Wendy. I mean, I'm so blessed. And the reason I'm here in the UK is to celebrate my birthday, and that's tomorrow evening. And I'm going to release 100 tickets tonight for those who couldn't get tickets, or from what we call scalpers or touts, who bought so many of them, making 200, 300 pounds on tickets. And it's for people like Wendy and all of you fantastic fans. And I really wanted it to be for you. I put it up on my website. And anyway, it's a blessing to be able to be me and to have people like yourselves who have supported me. And I hadn't come here for 10 years at a time. And to know that you have been so incredibly loyal to me.
When it all started, when did you suddenly realise that, you left a TV show and you'd become a massive star?
Well, I was on the TV show in America, and I was very, very successful overnight. And, I mean, it was almost overnight.
Yeah.
My record, I Think I Love You, was the first single. And
affect you? It must have been a real shock.
Well, the first 3 weeks, it went from nowhere to like number 5, and then in America, nobody does that. Certainly an unknown artist. And then the next week, it stayed there for like 6 weeks. It went to number 1, and the album, they had never sold $500 worth of albums. That's $250,000. The record company I was with, they sold 3.7 million copies. So if you can imagine how overwhelmed they were, they weren't prepared for it. And quite frankly, nor was I. I was 19 when I sang that song, and it's one of the greatest pop songs ever written, in my opinion. And I didn't write it, but I wish I had. And I came in as a young actor. I'd been playing in blues bands and all kinds of different music than I did as an actor in that role, playing that part. And it was difficult for me in the beginning to grasp the magnitude of how many people it touched all over the world. And, you know,
It must have been.
it was beyond what anyone's comprehension. I got to know John Lennon quite well. He and Elvis was his guy. John and Paul and George and Ringo were mine. I picked up an electric guitar the night after I saw them on a Sunday night television show in America called the Ed Sullivan Show, which all the big pop stars, especially the British Invasion. And it changed my life, and I still miss John. He was kind of a mentor to me. And Paul, I played with him, I played with John a few times, and it was a thrill for me of a lifetime, because they were, until my arrival there and here and then all over the world, and John paid me the greatest compliment. He said, "You're the biggest thing that's ever been."
God.
And I thought, no,
So,
I'll never change the world the way you did. I'll have an impact on a generation and then another in the greatest way it could
and
possibly
then David, obviously you stopped touring big stages eventually and went on to start and create shows in Vegas then.
I did, and on Broadway, and in the West End, and I wrote and produced a number of shows and 2 movies. I created and produced a television series for network in the United States. But, you know, when you get pigeonholed, you become that famous and that successful. People want to keep you there. And people thought for the longest time I didn't love being that character and that experience. I mean, I worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, I promise you, for 5 years and toured all over the world. And it's the equity that you have when you've touched so many people's lives that's why they're here.
And they're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, I'm releasing 100 tickets.
No,
My word, that's an interesting shot there. That's a very interesting shot.
Well, HMV Hammersmith are right now putting 100 tickets on sale that I see.
Well, good luck with that, David.
Thank you, love.
Brilliant.
Thank you
We've
very much.
certainly seen some very odd things on the one show. I'm about to say.
Yeah, tonight, Rennie from Switzerland and a David Cassidy knickers.
Oh, no.
Yes, oh yes.
Oh,
yes,
no.
Yes.
And now,
no.
we're going to bring you a very interesting story.
Oh,
You're going to
no.
love this. It's a historic fish and a bunch of llamas.
Lucy, her son Boxer, and Dalai, as in Dalai Lama. See?
Yeah, and Kate Bevan's here as well, our one-show farmer. Lovely to see, because you and llamas go way back, don't you?
We do. I used to farm them many years ago. Really inquisitive animals. They're spectacular, actually. They can be pregnant up to 12 months, and you can't see any signs like you can with a cow and a sheep. Appeared from nowhere, but they're great as pack animals. They use them for the fibre. You're not allowed to call it wool. And yeah, beautiful.
Are they related to the vicuda?
They're similar, yeah, the camelids. And if you listen to them, David, if you listen to them humming,
He's loving me.
lovely, calm,
making a nice
calm
He loves
sound
David.
there, isn't
I'm
it?
taking him home with me, by the way.
tomorrow night.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, well,
Hammersmith, come with me.
All the very best with the concert.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Hope it
We had a great
Thank
time.
you, and a happy birthday to
Thank you.
David.
Tomorrow's my birthday. Thank you. Hello,
So
darling.
come to the party, love.
Now, your rhinestones at the ready, because Tuesday is D-Day right here on the One Show.
Cannot believe we're saying this. Dolly Parton is going to be here tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeehaw!
Say hi to
Hang on,
Dolly for me. I love her.
See you.
Good night.